Scott, do you want to just check to see if we have a few more people in the choir or if they're close? It looks like we're good to go, so we won't keep you here too long. I would like to thank you for joining us, and to those who are joining us live stream, welcome. And if you are joining us live stream and have any questions, just raise your hand. Just kidding. I would like to begin with prayer. Pastor, would you lead us, please?
Gracious God, we come to you humbly, knowing that you have called us to ministry in this community, knowing that you are among us in word and sacrament by your divine glory, and knowing that apart from you we accomplish nothing. And so we do not today so much ask for you to be present, for we know that you are already here. But we do ask that you would guide and direct us, that the conversations and decisions that we make might bring you glory and accomplish your vision for your kingdom. Use us to that end. For Jesus' sake we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. At this point, I would like to look for a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2021. We met late last year due to COVID in part. And when you make a motion in a second, please state your name so that I don't look too silly up here. And then I will repeat the motion and the second for our secretary. Is there a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes? Motion by Wally Brandt to approve the previous minutes of May 23rd, 2021. Is there a second? A second by Carol Bergner. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this point, we normally go right into our finance report. But I just want to go out of order a bit. I want to thank our outgoing council member, Scott Eckdale. Scott is not here. Scott Marsh are gone today. But Scott was council president during the previous year and during a very difficult time. And I know he is watching or will watch this, and I want to offer my heartfelt gratitude to Scott for his leadership during the last year and his work on council. We appreciated it very much. And there are so many other thanks. Our staff, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit, but our staff, of course, is led by our pastor, Pastor Jim. And talk about a difficult 2 years. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, we appreciate you, and we appreciate your efforts. Thank you, Jim. Preparing a budget for this church is, I'm guessing, always with a little bit of effort. It certainly has been in these past couple of years, and I appreciate the effort of Ron, who has done so much for how many years, Ron? 21 years. And again, he's just done a great job of putting numbers together for us and analyzing. So at this point, I'd like to bring Ron up to talk about the budget, and we'll continue from there. Yes, Jim. Okay, all right. We'll bring Jim up and then Ron. Can I leave this here?
So you never have a pastor in a room without him or her getting to say something, right? And I'll try to keep these for no longer than double the time that I preached this morning. Just kidding. One of the regular prayer practices that I engage in is called the Ignatian Examine. And it can be done for any period of time. Usually the Ignatians do it every day. It can be done for a week, for a month, for a year. And it essentially asks three questions. As you look back on the day, for instance, for what do you give thanks? The second question has to do with what did I learn, both positive and negative. And the third question has to do with, based on what I give thanks for, what I experienced during the day, what I learned, what are my hopes and my dreams, intentions, and purposes for the coming day? Back in December, I sent these questions out to our council members, and I invited them to spend some time in personal prayer, asking those questions about our congregation for the past year. For what do we give thanks? What did we learn? And what are our hopes, dreams, intentions, and purposes as we think of the coming new year? It was a wonderful exercise and a wonderful conversation for us. And the things that we gave thanks for are probably fairly predictable, things that I suspect you also give thanks for. We gave thanks for the return to in-person worship. We gave thanks for volunteers, for faithful leaders, for staff and volunteers, and the creativity of so many people that contributed to our ministry over the past year. We gave thanks for time and talent and treasure, and for the way the congregation responded to support the ministry in general, and especially particularly the youth ministry. We gave thanks for the technical team, for online services done with such excellence, for the health and the growth and the perspective that we've gained over the past few years. We are survivors. For Claude's Pantry, for giving that arrived when it was needed, and for a successful giving campaign for 2022. And so what did we learn? We learned that we approach our ministry and decisions prayerfully and humbly, knowing that we don't always make the right decisions, but whatever decision we make, we trust it into God's hands. We learned that there are other ways to worship than in person. And we learned to trust in a God who is always a solid rock in a constant sea of change, and that God will provide. We learned to keep our eyes on the main thing. And it's a challenge sometimes to keep our eyes on the main thing. And so what are the hopes and the dreams and the intentions and purposes? As we had that conversation, there were a few themes that came into mind. We have dreams and hopes for a renewed personal connection among the members of this congregation. And so you will see, as we move out of the time of pandemic and into the time of endemic, learning to live with a COVID virus that is not going away, that we are going to be strong with initiatives that try to reestablish those connections that we had prior to the pandemic. We have a hope and a dream that we can gather in unity around a common purpose and mission. And part of that will be a conversation that we can hone in on exactly what is God calling us to do and to be in this community. And we have intents and purposes, hopes and dreams for reaching out into our community to make others aware of the wonderful ministry that happens here at Shepherd of the Bay and to draw them in. And so as we think about, the budget and other things, the budget is but a numerical expression of our intentions, our hopes, and our dreams for ministry. We prayerfully ask God to give us the resources, both people, money, and all of that, energy, that we might accomplish these things that we believe God is moving us to. So thank you, Dave.
Ron, would you come on up and we'll give you the Microphone. You can just conclude with the final numbers or whatever.
I just want to say a few words about last year. We normally get a lot of money at the end of the year, and last year we didn't get quite as much at the end of the year, but the positive was giving was more consistent throughout the year. So instead of a big December, we had a big October, November, and December. So we did all right. We actually had a net income of about $4,100, which I think was just positively amazing. Our actual giving was almost $467,000, and our budget was $480,000. And but our expenses were $14,000 less than the budget. So I would say it turned out to be a rather successful year. One of the pleasures I guess that I get out of this job is the surprise offerings that come in. And one of the things we got last year, and this isn't even a member, but he always gives us a nice gift in December, and I open up the envelope, and here was a check for $5,000 for debt reduction. And we paid an extra $5,000 on our principal in January because of this gift. And the other good news about our loan for this building in Oregon, it's going to be paid off around August of next year, the way things are going. And I'll be glad to see that happen. Okay, let's go to the budget for 2022. The budget committee, we actually analyze. I've got my account list is about 3 pages, and we actually go through this account by account by account. And so there is no fluff in our budget, and in the past we've always done an excellent job of adhering to our budget, and we very seldom go over our budget in terms of expenses. So we are forecasting total income next year of $529,000 and total expenses of $528,000. This includes 5% wage increase for the staff, and bear in mind that the staff didn't get wage increases last year. So we have some catching up to do on that. The regular offering is going to be a stretch, but it's been a stretch in past years, and somehow it always works out that we do all right at the end of the year. So does anybody have any specific questions on the budget? Okay, I'll turn it over to you.
So to expound upon some of what Ron talked about a little bit, I will admit that I'm not always a numbers person as it relates to spreadsheets, et cetera, et cetera. So last week I asked Ron to spend some time with me, and we spent 2 hours together here going through the budget because I wanted to know when there's an expense, what line item it comes out of, and how, when I look at his financial reports, they're a little bit confusing to me, and I was educated, and I appreciate the time you spent. And Ron is one of those people, I call him a volunteer. The stipend that he receives certainly doesn't even begin to recognize the number of hours. So thank you very much, Ron. You do a great job. A couple of weeks ago, I stood up here and I asked you as a congregation to contact us if you had concerns about the way that we spent money or did not spend money. And I had one person talk to me about the way that which we paid money to the ELCA, and we discussed that at council, or Jim and I discussed it. We intend and always want to be as open with this congregation as we can. Following last year's meeting, there was, I think criticism is too strong a word, but there was concern that we had budgeted some funds for 5 areas of spending in our community. And so I wanted to clarify that, because we do identify in benevolence spending to help of Door County, the Housing Partnership in Door County, Door Cancer, Northern Door Children's Center, and Door County United Way. That started after a gift 2 years ago of $50,000 to the congregation, with the idea being that they wished that we would contribute to something. And there was a committee established. Mickey was on that committee, and they looked at, I believe, 21 different agencies within the community, and said that they want to identify those 5 groups. Not that the others were not worthwhile, but we felt that we should. And so for a period of 3 years, we have and will continue to give this year the remainders of the money to those organizations. And the discussion I had with this particular parishioner, and I totally respect the position, was that that sometimes can be dangerous, because what one person thinks important is not necessarily important to another. And I couldn't agree with that more. However, when we take a committee of individuals from this parish and we organize, and together we determine some of what's important in the community, we then develop a pretty good snapshot of who we are. All of you, many of you have talked to me about why you started coming to Shepherd of the Bay. Jim's message, the music program, the youth program. We all come for different reasons. And when we reach out as a church community to organizations and show our commitment to this community, we often receive back by people coming and joining us, by people voicing goodwill to this church, and of course by the very gift that we give. So I think the benevolence is very important, and we don't know if we'll be able to continue in this ministry if we get additional gifts. It was outside of our normal budgeting process, but we sure hope we can, and we sure hope that we can continue to support our budget, as Ron said. One of the things that I want to give credit to in this budget is planning. And Tom's sitting back there, and Tom is chairman of our Building and Grounds Committee, and he does just a marvelous job of putting together the budget to make sure that this building is well cared for and will be cared for into the future. He has a 5-year plan, 7-year plan. We put money into the budget for major maintenance each year, and it would often be easy to squeeze that into something else, but we recognize the importance and the due diligence that Tom pays to looking forward to replacement of this or repair of this. So Tom, thank you very much. Jim mentioned that our employees went without raises 2 years ago. Carol, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in her tenure here, she has received her second raise scheduled this year, her second one in I don't know how many years, certainly not enough. Carol is one of our 2 hourly employees. We have some salaried people, the music program, and they're never paid enough for all of their hours. And last year we did make a slight adjustment to the youth ministry wage, which again, based on the job that you're doing, Linda, is not nearly enough, and we apologize for that. But in today's world, we all know that wages are increasing. We know that inflation is here. And we took a look around recently. Ron and I met the other day, and we looked at the prevailing wages, and Carol, who has been with us for a number of years, when we went out to hire a cleaning person, we looked at the prevailing wage scale, and the only number that we could settle on that would even bring people close to coming in was $20 per hour. Again, Tom did a great job in interviewing, and we did bring someone in scheduled at $20 per hour. We have budgeted $10,000 for that, up to $10,000. But quite honestly, Carol is not paid there. She's paid at $16.87 per hour, and we started looking at that, or I started looking at that and said, is that really fair? She's an hourly wage person at 28 hours per week, and it is my feeling there should be parity to the most recent hire. You can look in the Advocate or any paper that is advertising, and the prevailing wage at this point is that or better with benefits, etc. To bring Carol to parity at this time and would be a $3,500 increase to our budget, but I think it's necessary and right. She does a wonderful job, and to me it just demonstrates that she has been willing to plug along without those increases. So this is in addition to our budget, but I would ask if there's interest in a motion to adjust the budget to additional $3,500 to bring Carol to that parity at $20 per hour.
So moved.
Carol Bergner makes the motion. Seconded by Kathy Mangan to bring Carol's wage to $20 per hour. Carol, it's not enough, but we want to thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Is there any additional discussion to the budget at this time, or any questions? We'd be happy to tackle it. If not, I need a motion to approve the budget for 2022. Dan Farwell moves to approve the budget as presented with the addition of $3,500. Is there a second? Cheryl Beck, approve. Second. Cheryl Beck. Motion and a second to approve the budget. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this time, will we already thank Scott for his time served on council? And moving off leaves one position available, and Tara Torkelson has agreed to serve. Tara, could you stand up and introduce yourself, please?
I'm Tara Torkelson. I've been here 2 years ago, so I moved up here full time with the I work full time.
Let me say you have a great voice. Are there other people here with a burning desire? We can put you into nomination if you would like. Please raise your hand or stand. Seeing none, I would request a motion to approve Tara Torkelson as a council member. Sue Dobner, motion, second, anywhere? Yes. Okay. Lyle. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Yeah, and welcome. I would remind everyone that we love to have guests at council meetings. We meet every third Monday at 7 p.m. here, generally, unless it's a Zoom meeting. We expect to be back. If you have questions and concerns, you can contact any of us, and I think it's a good time to identify the council members. We have several of them here. So on the council, Ron is a voting member. Sue Dobner, want to just stand up? And who else is here? Vicky, Mickey, and Nick. Dickie, Vicky, and Mickey. And Edie's here, and Trish is in Florida watching us. Trish, I think you checked out before we announced that our next meeting is at your place in Florida, so we will be there. We we have no other nominations to any standing committees today. And let me look at my notes. Pastor Jim, am I missing anything? And then in conclusion, I would just say again, prior to coming on this council, the last time I served on a church council was in Sister Bay at the Catholic Church as a young man. My mother raised us all Catholics. And so that was quite a bit different because the pecking order in the Catholic Church is you really do what the priest wants to do, and that's just by policy. The council here has been very, I don't want to say vocal, but they have been very easy to deal with. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, and that's perfect. And I would encourage you to attend a council meeting if you have interest. People often tend to think of council membership as a task, but we have become friends, and it's very interesting to meet and to deal with each other, and I really appreciate the people that I serve with, so thank you very much. Finally, again, I would give one last thank you to our employees. They just really do a great job. I know for Carol, it's been a different 2 years as we basically closed the church and spent a lot of time here on your own. You have to like yourself to go to work and be alone. But as this church starts to become alive again in this building, I think we've been very alive, but in this building, I foresee the activity level increasing drastically, and I look forward to that. And the activity that Linda brings in and what Jim does in his services. So I'm excited for the future. We're coming out of a difficult time, and I'm excited for the future. So I want to thank all of you for attending. I want to thank all of those who work for us and with us. And God bless you all. Thank you very much. And I look for a meeting motion to adjourn. I will make that motion. Dick Burrows. And Sue Dobner makes a second. All in favor, aye. We're adjourned.